how to pick the right contractors. Right contractors can make or break you in the real estate world. I know I've had some terrible ones. They've cost me thousands. We're going to teach you how to avoid that today on the show. Let's dive into it. Here we are at our very first rental property. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris, longtime real estate investor, public speaker, author of the best-selling book, How to Pay Off Your Mortgage in 5 Years. I've helped thousands of people start to build passive income, buy their first rental property, and take action towards financial freedom. That's what this channel is all about. So thank you so much for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you're new here, give us a like. We always like that. This channel is really dedicated to helping you build financial intelligence. So it's the stuff you were not taught in school. Really, maybe you were taught to balance a checkbook in school. Some people didn't even get that. So this channel really wants to help you stop buying liabilities, buy performing assets, understanding taxes, and helping you build true wealth. I've got a guest on the show today. You might remember him from a few months ago. He was on the show. I kind of butchered his last name. Former baseball player turned real estate investor. Today we're going to talk about picking the right contractors, and he had some mistakes along the way. His name is Jose Jamarillo. Did I get it right this time?
Not yet, but you're getting there. You'll get there, man.
I'm going to keep practicing.
You're 0 from 2 right now.
0 for 2. I'm 2 strikes. I'm ready to be struck out. Good. Now the rest of the show, I can just call you Jose. Jose, welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming back here on the Investing in Real Estate show. We had a great time talking before, and I'm so glad to have you back here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm super happy to be here.
So I talked about baseball a little bit, and I want to maybe our viewers remember your last appearance where we talked about you buying this house, the firehouse, as you called it, and barely were able to break even on this thing after some missteps and contractors and so forth. We'll get to that, and then we'll talk about how to pick the right contractor so you avoid some of these mistakes. But give our audience a little bit of your backstory, coming here playing baseball for no money and getting that real estate bug.
Yeah, thank you, man. So I'm originally from Venezuela. I came to the United States under a baseball scholarship with a dream to become a Major League Baseball player. I fulfilled part of my dream because I got to play here. You know, I played college, I got a degree. I didn't play Major League Baseball. I played a little bit of independent ball after I got my college degree. And after that, I moved to Miami in 2010. And I have no money at all. I wasn't making any money when I was playing baseball. No money at all. I was actually paying. I was basically paying to play baseball because I had to cover my expenses. And in college, I was just lucky enough to get a scholarship and cover my tuition. You know. Anyways, I moved to Miami. No money at all, and then I had to start again from nothing. And I moved to an apartment while I was working. Actually, I was working as a valet parking at that moment, making $4 an hour. And I moved to an apartment with a couple of guys, and then they ended up leaving. And then I end up stuck with the lease myself, and I have to figure out a way to make it truth. And that's how I got introduced to real estate, basically, because I was forced to find a way to rent out the rooms.
How much was the rent for? How much did they stick you with it? I mean, they weren't bad guys, but they're like, "Hey, we're moving out." How much was it?
Right. Yeah. It was 2,600. Actually, a little more because you have to cover electricity, whatever, and all those bills. So it was about $2,600 a month. And yeah, I had to figure out a way to rent out the rooms. That's when I got introduced to Airbnb, which I love right now nowadays. And then thank you, internet, because that brings a lot of opportunities. And from then it just took off because I went on the search to get more knowledge, which is the key when you're doing something. You just have to get information. And I learned how to do tax deed auctions, and that's how I bought my first property.
Tell us about that first property. You bought it at a tax deed auction with if I'm not mistaken, you need to bring the full amount of money, right? You have to bring a cashier's check to anything you're about to bid on, right?
Right. Yes. Here in Miami, Miami-Dade County and Broward County, or it's actually all over Florida. You need to have the money ready within 24 hours. If you win the bid right now, then, like for example, Miami, all the bids or all the auction happens they start at 2 p.m. if I remember correctly, yes, 2 p.m. So if you win today at 2 p.m., then tomorrow by noon, you need to have the money there, either by a cashier check or a wire transfer, and it has to be cash. I ended up partnering up with a couple of guys. One of them, he actually had already some experience with the tax deed auction, and the other one didn't. And I had just acquired a lot of knowledge, because I was studying the tax deed, and I got pretty decent knowledge. I got pretty good at it with the knowledge. I mean, not with the practice yet. And I made a deal with one of those guys that he would lend me the part that I needed to purchase the property, and I will pay him the money back with some return, with some profit. And then I actually had some money myself. I put like about $5,000, but the rest have to be through somebody else. And we ended up buying the property for $35,000. We put $6,000-$7,000 to fix it, painting, fixing the kitchen cabinets, whatever. And then we rented out and we sold it to an investor for $55,000.
That's great. That's great. So there you go, audience. If you're sitting there saying, I don't have any money, most real estate investors who get started don't have any money. And you're a perfect example of that, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's easier to get money when you're in real estate versus any other business, because you have the asset, you have the property, and that's the protection that you get, and the investors, they feel comfortable, and the banks, because that's how their money is protected.
Right. I mean, look, you have the asset. So if you don't have money, you've got to find a deal. So go out and find a deal. Then the people with the money are going to be attracted to that, because they don't have time. They might be doctors and lawyers. They're working 70 hours a week. They don't have time to find a deal. You found the deal. Now they've got the money. That's how you create this partnership, right?
Right. There is a couple of things that I believe you need to have whenever you're going to ask for money. Number one, yes, finding the deals. Number two, and I think it's super important, you need to have the information, and you have to let them know that you're going to be able to execute with that information the best way possible, because that's how they're going to feel comfortable that you're going to do a good job, especially when you're doing it, when it's the first time that you're doing it. Because you may be like, well, okay, I learned all this information, I took classes, whatever, but how am I going to get somebody to trust me? Well, you have to you have to really, let them know that you're going to execute the best way possible. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you probably should partner up with somebody that has some experience, so you can learn, and then you can come to the investor and say, hey, I have some experience. This is what I have done in the past. This is all I know, and this is why I think that we'll do a good partnership, and I'm going to be able to get your return, and we'll all be happy. And
yeah, I mean, look, I have a whole series here, a playlist. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, or if you're listening to this, please head over to our YouTube channel. I've got a whole playlist called the Private Money Playlist, which will help you from the very beginning, walk through this like step by step. And what Jose is talking about is being able to put together a presentation, which we talk about.
Right.
We show you exactly what to look for and how to structure it in one of those videos, which is to say, here I have this deal. Here's what the cash flow will be on it. Here are the contractors I'm hiring. Here's how long it will take me to put this deal together and finish this. And then once we sell it, after, you walk through that entire process, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So one of the key areas in all of this, Jose, is the contractors, right? Because
right. Yeah. There is a lot of people that say that finding the deal is the key. Is the most important part, not even the money. I agree, finding the deal is important, but having the right crew, the right contractors, the right handymans is also as important, because you may have a really good deal, but if you have a bad execution with the flipping process or the rehabbing process, then all the money will get burned out, and you can end up losing money. So you have to be really careful with that.
So let's talk about some of the mistakes. We mentioned on the last time you were on the show, you were on you were on in June on our show, and now here we are in August. We talked about the firehouse, and you made some mistakes. You lost some money, and you hired some bad contractors. So we'll get to some of the tips and tricks here in a moment about contractors, but remind our audience a little bit about the firehouse and some of the missteps along the way.
Oh man, yeah, this house was an expensive tuition. That's the way I see my mistakes and my losses. It's just a payment for tuition, because you're learning. So this house, we bought it for about $80,000. It got some fire from the last owner. We had to do a full rehab here, new floors, new electrical, new everything. We purchased for a good price, though. It was $80,000. We bought it with a hard money loan. The ARV at the moment, the after repair value, was 150,000. It actually appraised for 150,000. So we have some room to, fix it completely, whatever, and then sell it or rent it out. Well, it became a really hard or difficult project because we ended up hiring the wrong people, and then we also ended up executing certain things the wrong way. Like, for example, we started the project without having the permits ready. So what happened was that the city said, "Hey, what was happening here? You guys cannot be working because the permits hasn't been approved. So here you go. We got a stop work from the city. We weren't able to do anything for quite some time, and then with the bad contractors, then we had to redo some of the things that the first contractor has done because they weren't done correctly." And we have to hire new people, so we have to pay again something that we had already budgeted for, and then it was just a chain of effects after another one, and it ended up working out. The property got sold for 180,000. We were very close to break even, so we didn't lose any money. But I think the big lesson here was the main part, because we got able to learn a lot through the whole process. It took like about a year to get this house done.
Wow.
That was a long flip.
That's a long flip, especially for Florida, because Florida, you don't even have basements to deal with.
No, and we had monthly expenses. We have to pay the hard money loan every month.
That's crazy. Yeah, the hard money loan. So you're paying, I think you said in the last episode, you're paying $900 a month just on the carrying cost of this loan, and you can't even do any work. The city says stop work, and you're having to sit there and bleed $900 a month.
Exactly.
It's a rent
and
check.
bleed with the contractors.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of these missteps now. How to pick the right contractors based on your experience. If someone's just getting started, looking to get their first flip or their first buy and hold, they're going to make an investment in contractors. What's the first step? You started out using more contractors from sites, or you started using from more kind of professional-based sites like Angie's List. Is that what you would recommend people to do?
I moved to that, yes, because originally we were there is a big mistakes that I have made, and I'm sure a lot of people made, that whenever they're going to hire somebody, and is that they want to hire the one that charges the least, the cheapest one, the cheapest contractor on the block. And I think that's a big mistake, because you're thinking about the money, you're thinking about short term, you're thinking about saving a couple of $100, but you're not really putting into perspective that if something goes wrong, that cheap contractor is going to turn into very expensive, because you're going to have to hire somebody else. So that I went through that. What I did was I moved to more reliable sources and more reliable contractors by going into these websites like Angie's List and Home Advisor. Actually, Home Advisor owns Angie's List nowadays, so it's the same thing. Because number one, you can read the reviews, and if anyone that is concerned about the reviews is going to care about their customers. Number two, they are paying those websites to get the leads, so they're putting money into it, so they're going to care. They're caring about their company, in my opinion, because they're trying to grow the company by getting more customers, and they're going to care about the customers because they have to care about the reviews of the reputation of the company. So that's why I moved to these sources, and it's actually working out very well. The response time is very fast. They're very efficient. They charge, market value. Sometimes you can get a little less expensive, but the main thing is that you get the job done correctly and they're responsible. And that's one of the main things that I look for whenever I'm going to hire somebody.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So you have turned to those sites. I mean, that's pretty interesting. And I would think that these forms of payment, that's another question. Because some of these guys, we've had this experience where we paid a guy fully, and I think we paid him like $15,000 on a project. He'd done some other work for us, so we thought we had a track record with him. And then he just disappeared. Just absolutely just up and left. And is it worth suing the guy for it? It's like the amount you'll spend on lawyers to go after, it's not even worth it at the end of the day.
No, you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy. You have to compute the time versus the money. That's what I do. I value time way more than the actual money, because the money, when you lose money, you can recover. You can find a way to make the money again. It's my belief, my personal belief. But the time, we can recover the time. If we lost 1 day, 2 days, 3 days of the project, that's it. We lost the days, and we are losing money at the same time. So that's why, you have to really be careful when you're hiring, but you also have to find a way to fire them fast. If you pay them and they disappear and you go into the chasing mode, I suggest you just find somebody else. And then if you decide to sue the guy, whatever, and you want to put time and energy into that because it's a decent amount of money, okay, maybe. But in the meantime, you have that project going, and you need to get somebody back to work right away, because otherwise you're going to lose money here and you're going to lose money with the project as well. So you have to be very thoughtful with that.
No, that's a great point. I heard a story many years ago, and it might have been from Tony Robbins. I believe it was either Tony Robbins or Marshall Silver, which is a name many people might not know, but talking about tripping over dimes, or trying to pick up dimes in order to, what was it? Tripping over dollars in order to pick up dimes. I forget the idiom, but it's maybe I got it wrong. But the more time you worry about dimes, you're missing the dollars. And you really need to ask yourself, is it worth, hiring a lawyer and then going through a whole process? This guy probably doesn't even have the money. I mean, it's just a waste, because at the end of the day, only the lawyers are going to make money, right? So I could be on to other projects. And plus, it's a business loss. I always look at that on a tax.
Exactly.
It's a business loss. I write it off on my taxes.
Right, exactly. You have to find a way to see it from a different perspective. I keep repeating that word, but it actually works. Like you're saying, you see it as a loss versus a big loss. Oh, I lose the money. Now you get clouded, and then you also lose money on the project.
One thing I like to do, and we'll have a link to this in the show notes below, is use Plastic. We've partnered with them. We use them a lot. So anytime we hire a contractor, we use our business credit card that we get airline points on. We travel for free as a result of it. And then we basically will use our credit card to pay our contractors, so that we're not only, and it's a business expense, but we're also getting all of these airline points or even cash back for the business. And we use Plastic. We have a link below if anyone wants to check out how that works. But do you do something similar to that?
That's a great point. And I don't use Plastic. It's actually the first time. I'm going to check it out. It's the first time I heard about it. But I use credit cards. Originally, I was paying cash and checks. And then I said, no more cash, because when you pay them cash, then there is no way to track that. They disappear, whatever, So I said, well, let's use a different form that is going to be more beneficial. And one of them is credit cards, because yes, you can get the points. You can get sometimes cash back, depending on the type of credit card product that you have. But I actually love using that form of payment. And when I'm looking for contractors, I try to find contractors that actually accept different forms of payment, because that tells me also that they care about the growth of their company, and they're thinking about all the diversity with customers that they have. And that tells me that they're just more, they may lean to be a little more responsible than just a cash contractor. Just the one that, hey, I just want cash and that's it. That I'm really trying to stay away from that.
Yeah, I mean, I won't even hire them. I have a friend, Jerry Norton, who he won't even hire contractors unless they accept a credit card. So that teaches you the level of professionalism there. I mean,
exactly.
Plastic works great. Again, we'll have a link below. People save, I think you'll save like $50 off the sign up if you use it. And the way it works is, we've talked about it here on the show a little bit before, not to go off on a Plastic tangent, but I use it like 3 times a week. So I am a big believer in it. You use your credit card. With Plastic, it enables you to wire money basically to a contractor, or you can even buy a property with it. So I'll buy properties with my credit card just by wiring through Plastic to the title company. So yes, there's a 2.5% transaction fee, but if you consider all of the fees that you would pay on hard money or otherwise, that little transaction fee, again, is a business expense, and you're getting the benefits of all the airline miles and cash back and bonus rewards and everything. So you can buy a property on your credit card. It's I don't know. To me, it's a killer strategy.
That's a really good tip. I'm glad that you mentioned that, man. I
Yeah.
learned something good today.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link, and you'll save some money too. So anyway, being
Wow, nice.
flexible with their payments, that's great, and that really, I love the way that you said that, which is it shows a level of professionalism with your contractors that they have an
Right,
office, they have accounting, they'll accept different payments.
right.
So you also ask a series of questions about the jobs they're currently doing. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. So whenever I'm interviewing them at the beginning, before they start, before I decide to hire them, I try to get a feeling and an idea if how many projects they're doing at the same time. Because I have seen here in Miami that some of these guys are actually smaller companies. They're smaller, size companies. They try to do too many jobs at the same time, and then they don't really have the crew to be able to deliver to all the projects that I have. So I try to get an idea. I know it can be a little difficult because you don't know if the guy's been telling you the truth or not, but you have to, I guess, go with your guts. That's what I do, and try to get as much information as possible to see if the guy is actually going to be um, showing up every day to my project, because that's what I'm looking for. In construction, you have to show up every day because, again, you're losing time if you don't. And number two, you have to show up early in the morning. So I had contractors that they were showing up at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. in the past. You're not going to get anything done at that time. They're probably coming from working on another project. Then they show up to my project at 3 p.m. They're already tired, they're hungry, whatever. So the quality is not going to be the same. So I want to make sure that whoever is working on my projects are getting there at least 8 a.m. But construction, in my opinion, you got to be there at 7 a.m. ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
love that. I just interviewed a series of contractors like last month, and yeah, we were there at like 7:30 in the morning, a whole series of them. And
yeah,
I played this little game. I don't know if you do this, but I like to bring them all at the same time to know that they're competing against other contractors. Do you do that?
no, I haven't done that, but that's a good idea.
So they'll
That's a
show
good
up and they'll
idea.
think, oh, they'll see another truck, and now they know, oh, all right, this isn't just I'm not the only one here. I've got to put on my A game,
Exactly.
So you're getting, so all right, asking those questions and seeing what time is showing up, and you also start with giving them some smaller projects. That's another part of your journey. Tell me about that.
Right, yes, because I have cases where I actually have one single contractor doing everything, and I feel that that's giving up too much. It's too much risk, So, especially at the beginning, I try them out with the smaller projects, and I see how they do, and then I move them to give to more. I give them more responsibilities, more projects. If you give them the whole project from the beginning and you don't know this guy, you don't know how he's going to perform, then there is a big risk that he's probably, if he screws up and he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, then you already spend probably a decent amount of money because you have the guy doing the whole project, versus if you do a smaller projects, you can divide it like kind of what you said, you have a contractor for electrical, you have a contractor for plumbing, and then you can um, minimize the risk, which is a specific trade. I know there is a lot of people, a lot of investors that are already seasoned that do that, but I also have heard, and I have done it myself, of people that they hire one single contractor to do the whole thing, and the stories are not really that well. They're not that good, sorry, because something happened. So this is a way that I'm using now to minimize the risk.
That's
And I
great.
learned that just by failing. That's how I figure it out.
No, this is perfect. And for anyone who's driving right now or needs a recap, we'll make sure we have show notes here and plus a coordinated blog post to go with this. If you go to morrisinvest.com/podcast, we'll have a breakdown of Jose's tips here so people can write those down as they're looking to hire a contractor. We have a few more tips, though, I want to touch on before we let you go. Number one, or another one that you mentioned, is have one field manager. Number one, what does a field manager do and why just one person?
You need somebody in the field to manage and be there with all the people, to manage all the people that you have hired, because and I have experienced that myself too, where I hire the contractor and they also say, yes, we're going to be doing the project managing and you don't have to do that, we'll take care of everything. However, again, I feel like it's too much risk based on my experience. It really hasn't worked out that well. So what I started doing was having a third party, being the project manager, to be there whenever. And you can do it yourself too if you want to, or you can, if you partner up with somebody that actually has good skills to be a project manager, that partner can be the project manager on the field. And it will take care of dealing with the contractors, making sure that they're showing up. For example, if you need materials and you are the one in charge of doing or the purchase of the materials, then that's why that project manager is there. Any other issues, if the city shows up and you need to show them that you have the permits, anything that have to do with the project, I think it's a good idea to have a third party there that you delegate to be in charge and making sure that things are running correctly every single day. And especially to know that they're showing up, because you'll see that it had happened to me. They just don't show up, and then you're losing time.
And a couple of other items here that we want to talk about. Payment. You do not pay 50% upfront. Why is that?
And if you have an audience that are contractors, they're probably going to start blowing up with comments. But I would like to hear from them an actual reason why they think I should be paying 50% upfront or a big amount upfront.
Right, because materials, the argument a lot of times is we need this for materials, but you don't need 50% for materials that early, right?
Exactly. And I have seen those cases, especially here, where they're asking me for 50% upfront. And they say they're not going to do anything unless they get paid 50% of the actual project. So if you have a project that you're going to spend $30,000 as an estimate, then you have to give them $15,000. And to me, that's too much. I would agree to probably do $10,000. 10%, 15% at the most. But a big no for 50% is too much leverage. And then, me as a customer, like we talked before, I have to decide if I will sue the guy or chase in or not if the guy doesn't perform. However, as a contractor, they actually have leverage, which means if I don't pay the guy can easily put a lien on my property, and then I won't be able to sell the property. So he actually has way more leverage over me, is my opinion. So why am I going to have to assume all the risk? And let me tell you something. The few contractors that I have right now that I stick with, and they're still working with me nowadays, they ask me for zero at the beginning, nothing. And I pay them, for example, weekly or by project. So we set up a schedule and we say, okay, we're going to do A, B, and C from Monday to Friday. And then on Friday, we check that ABC is done and it's done correctly. And then I pay them. And that's it. The ones that I have given a bigger amount at the beginning or some type of payment on front, they haven't worked out.
Oh, that's great. And the contractor I had working on about 4 of my properties right now didn't want anything up front. And they got cranking, ripping drywall out, kitchens, cabinets, demo, everything, dumpsters ordered. And then, we pay on time, but we pay in increments, at different stages. I think about 4 different stages. And they've been great. They didn't ask for anything up front, and that's the relationship that we have.
Yeah, exactly. And same with me. Those are the guys that I am still working with.
Yeah, I've got 2 more projects I'm about to put them on because they're doing a great job. So that's great. And, finally, you really think about like the long-term relationship, right? If someone's there just trying to make a quick buck, that's not somebody you want to work with.
Right, exactly. I try to get a feeling of that. Just like you said, those 2 guys or those contractor guys that you have, you're about to give them 2 more projects. That's that translates into a relationship that is extending into possibly a long-term relationship. So I look for that. I look for guys that I'm going to be able to work with over and over again. And let me tell you something. Talking about paying them the value of the project, I actually don't tend to ask for a lower price. If they tell me what they believe their work is value, and I like working with them, I'm going to pay them what they're asking for, because I know in the long term, that's how I'm going to make the money, because I'm going to be able to keep repeating the system over and over again, versus telling them, no, I'm going to pay you less, you get into that war, whatever. Then the way I see it is, now this guy is thinking whenever he's going to come to work with me, wow, I'm going to have to figure out a way to beat Jose here on the price war. And, by me paying them what they believe they're worth, they have a different mentality, and they're going to be happy to work with me, and they're going to make sure that they do a good job because they know that I'm going to keep hiring them over and over and over again.
That's right. I'm the same way. The last job bid I got on these package of 4 properties that I'm renovating, I said, great, let's do it. All the numbers looked right to me based on my experience. I said, yep, let's do it. So that way I'm not nickel and diming them. And
No,
they started the project without even asking for a payment.
exactly. And you don't have to pay overpriced. That's not what I'm saying. You can pay the right price, and you will know. If I follow my guts a lot, and based on your experience, you can know if they're charging the right price. But sometimes some people or we fell into the, we know it's the right price, but let's try to lower a little more because we're looking to make that safe, that profit right now. But what about the other projects that we have in the future? What about me flipping this property in 30 days and then being able to do another project in the next 30 days and then another one in the next 30 days? At the end, I end up making more money.
Right.
And they make more money because they have work,
Right, they have the continuous work, and they're not then
Exactly.
having to, nickel and dime and then run off to another project. They know that they're going to be working for Jose on the next project. That's
Exactly.
exactly the way we look at it. Well, Jose, it's been a real treat having you back here on the show again. Some great tips on how to find the right contractors and not make some of the mistakes that maybe you and I have both made over the years. If we can help people from avoiding some of those mistakes, then it was all worth it today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and follow you on Instagram or social media?
Yes, I think Instagram is the best way. It's Jose Jaramillo 85, and you can find me on Instagram. DM me, send me a message. I'm really good with responding, and I
Perfect.
would love
And here's
to
how
hear
you
any
spell-
question or any comments.
There you go. There's how you spell it. Jose Jaramillo 85?
Yes.
85. There we go.
That's
85
it. Yes.
on Instagram. And hey, I never talk about my Instagram either. I've got we do a lot of great content on Instagram. So follow Jose, follow Clayton Morris on Instagram as well. And I'm going to follow Jose today as well.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you out there for downloading and subscribing to the Investing in Real Estate show. We hope we brought you some financial intelligence today, figuring out that, when you have a mistake on a property, that's not a loss. It can be a capital loss on your taxes. You don't have to go home and cry on the pillow. And then hiring the right contractors in order to make sure that you're getting the work done properly. Now go out there, take action, become a real estate investor. I believe it's the #1 way to build wealth. We'll see you next time, everyone.